What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Different Lens podcast. My name is Juan Felipe Sierra. I've been in the entertainment industry for the past 13 years, and this is...
And I'm Daniel. I'm your just usual nerd. I like games, movies, and music, and I'm here to talk about it.
All right, so what do we got for today?
All right, so there's a lot of good topics to talk about, but the main topic that we're going to talk about today is the Oscars. There is so much to talk about. There is so much anger. There's so much...
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things going on right now with the Oscars that I'm actually looking forward to. Believe it or not, I'm always looking forward to the Oscars. It's one of my favorite ceremonies ever. I understand there's so much controversy behind it. But the fact that so many films and so many categories are coming now to the Oscars, and I'm hoping to see more recognition after a few years of foreign films not being there. So in general, I just want to talk a little bit about the Oscars in general. So I just, let's talk about it.
Sure. What specifically do you want to talk about the Oscars?
Well, let's talk about how do we feel about the Oscars. First of all, how do we feel in general about the Oscars?
So the Oscars has been in a steady decline for years, not only because of controversies when it comes to the actual show itself, but also the politics behind it. Like, there's a lot of things that people are not liking about it, and it's movies are not getting the recognitions that they're supposed to get, but they're getting a lot of, like, the ones that were not supposed to get them are getting them because of either the topics that they're touching or the actors that are, in them. Yeah, it's just, I feel that there's a lot of art in the craft, but also more agendas in the movies themselves.
So you think it's... And I'm going to say this, and I don't know necessarily this is going to be the best way of saying it, but do you think it has to do with the friends in high places? Let's just say it like that, right? Like,
yeah,
part of
definitely.
the politics, right, is so many directors, just have so many, right, friends in high places, right, that get them that recognition for certain films that maybe we think shouldn't be there.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of, like, hand-holding and so there's going to be a lot of nepotism from the actors, the directors, like people that they know in the industry,
right?
But also I think that if a director is willing to, I don't know, play ball with a lot of things that not usually a lot of people play ball with, whether it's like, LGBT agendas or immigrants agendas or minorities in general, I think that there's a lot of controversy when it comes to how the people react to them, and if there's more of a sense of they have to fit the agenda rather than make a good film. So, for example, in the last episode, we were talking about how there's different reboots that don't need to be made when it comes to, like, changing either the gender of the cast and stuff like that. And I do believe that, like, if a movie is made with actual heart and not just to make it to appeal to the Academy, there's a bigger thing, because, a movie that appeals to the Academy could be like a period piece or something that it's what's called a call to action. So a call to action, it's like, let's step forward to make something, whether it's like call your representatives or your senators or your politicians or anything like that, or it's like, let's change some laws, or let's start climate change, like anything that has a socio-political agenda that also is very interested in the eyes of the Academy, but that doesn't mean that it's a well-made film.
Correct.
So the show itself, the past few, some of them have been very like, That's why I have hope that who's hosting it this year?
Not entirely.
I remember it's a comedian, but it's a good comedian. Like, wasn't it Chris Rock?
No, that was
Golden Globes.
I mean, I don't know if he's coming back after what happened with Will Smith.
With Will Smith. Yeah, but I know that I know that there's a comedian that I really like, that it's gonna they're controversial and stuff like that, and in the good way.
Not always.
Not always, of course, but like, having different comedians that are, in my opinion, meh, just because they're popular. Like, the whole situation with Joe Coy and was it the Golden Globes?
I believe that's what it
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
that show was just whack. So I think that having comedians could be a good potential to have something, but to me, having a better showman is better.
I'm not entirely a fan of comedians hosting these. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan, right? Like some of the jokes that they have are tacky. Some of the comments they make, I'm not a big fan, right? And
Right.
one of the things about the Oscars is that you have so many talented individuals in the same room, right?
Right.
And then the people that are hosting it feel so forced sometimes.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
the way that they say things, the way that they talk about things, the way that they present it just feels like it's so forced, right? It doesn't feel very natural.
Right.
And I don't know, but having also a comedian, I don't know, I feel like maybe it would flow a little bit better, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of that either.
Yeah. And what do you think about like the all of the politics that are included? Because I think that the whole, like, including like naming politicians or naming certain political figures, or it's to me it's unnecessary. I know that it's like art and activism go hand in hand,
Yeah.
but in such a prestigious thing that is celebrating the art, I think going by that, to me it's a little, I don't know, misguided, I guess.
Yeah, I just feel like it shouldn't be mentioned at all when we are celebrating films.
Correct.
Unless the film is absolutely specific towards a specific politics or a specific policy or an event, right, that has something related to politics. Like we were talking a little bit about it earlier. The film "I'm Still Here" is a film about Brazil, right, and the politics about Brazil and the many individuals that were lost, right, or that were completely taken away from their families.
Correct.
Now that is a topic where it's being brought into the film industry and is shining light to some events that occurred, right? Now, if we talk about politics, for example, Brazil and stuff like that, and he's mentioned, I understand, right? But let's say we watch Wicked, right? Where the leading actress, whatever, has X or Y views on politics and that it gets mentioned or something like that. I don't agree with that, right? It's just being brought down by so many individuals into it, and I just feel like it's unnecessary. Like I said, there's no need for it. But I do see it now. Yeah, it's everywhere, right? They have to talk about politics. I mean, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's become kind of like the norm to talk about politics, and even though there is a space, there's a place for it and a space and time for it, I do think that it alienates even the people that watch the films that don't agree politically with what they do. So I don't know, like I have friends that are film goers, that are film watchers, that are filmmakers, that don't align with the views and the politics and the agendas that a lot of Hollywood actors or actresses or directors or producers are trying to enforce or are trying to show. So even though, yes, he makes movies, he does feel a little alienated from it because he feels that he just doesn't have a voice, and a conservative voice can't be accepted just because of the political climate that we are in right now.
Right.
So I also agree that I personally feel that we don't need it. It's something that I believe it's here to stay, unfortunately, because it creates spectacle and it creates eyes on the Oscars to see what they're going to say either about the president or a policy or an actor or anything like that. And since the viewership has been going down and down and down and down and down, they have to inject some sort of way to bring more people in, whether it's controversy or whether it's, snubbing a movie or snubbing an actor or something. But to me, that just seems unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, the viewership has definitely gone down, right? I mean, even thinking about it right now, it's like how many friends that we have are currently saying, I'm going to watch the Oscars.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, even at home, whoever's watching, do you watch the Oscars? Like, I personally want to see it just because I like films, right?
Correct.
And there's specific films that I want to see succeed. because I'm a fan of them, right? I'm a fan of the actors, I'm a fan of the directors, and I'm a fan in general of the film. But realistically speaking, right? How many of our friends, how many of our family members, right, are watching the Oscars
Yeah.
and are genuinely you're gonna go the next day to work or the next day to whatever you're going, and it's like, you know what? Did you watch the
it?
Oscars?
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it awesome? Oh no, dude, I
I
haven't
have
fucking
no
watched
idea.
that.
And honestly, yeah, and honestly, the sentiment has been throughout media in general, because nobody talks about the VMAs, or nobody talks about like the, you know, who the Rock and Roll Hall of Famer is. Nobody talks about like any kind of award, because
Right.
I believe that a lot of the prestige of them have been getting sucked out by stupid shit that doesn't need to be there. But also, I think people stop seeing the glamour and the glitz and the, I don't know, the high status that all of that had back in the day. Because let's face it, a lot of the music right now, it's kind of shit, and the people that are making music are kind of shit, whether they're criminals or they're, you know, just shitty people in general. Right. And yes, there were a lot of shitty people in the past, but it was much more hidden from the general public. But now it's gotten to a point where they all either are involved in some controversy, or people just don't like them as a person, or they just don't agree with their politics, or it's something. It's always being the degradation of the spectacle of it. To a degree, I do like it, because it does take away from that sense of like they have to be perfect in order to fit.
Yeah, right.
In order to be famous, they have to be perfect. But it's like they can't just be people. They have to be ideals of people. So whether it's the ideal like LGBTQ singer, or the ideal immigrant filmmaker or actor, or the ideal black creator, so everything is idealized. So that's why a lot of people don't even want to do art, don't even want to get involved in art, just because they have to have such a huge pressure of, I have to be this perfect being in order to do my craft, and that's just not it.
Right. And I feel like that has to do a lot with the social media.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
The biggest influencer here in everything is social media, right? The fact that nobody's watching them, right? And the fact that you have so many of those artists, right, being singled out and stuff like that. It's all social media, right? Because nowadays, in the past, we didn't have that social media situation where anything that happens, you find out in like seconds.
Correct.
Right? There was that lack of information for a very long time. Nowadays, it's like something happens to whoever it is, right? You find out immediately, and then there is a trace, right? And automatically people are like, oh, I don't like that artist. I don't like that person. And then they could be in like phenomenal films and phenomenal things, and it's like, I don't like that person just simply for the fact that, you know, they saw something in social media about them.
Yeah.
And that actor, singer, whatever it is, gets singled out immediately, regardless of what they do.
Correct.
Right. And so, genuinely speaking, I don't know. I just feel like that has to do a lot with nowadays the viewership going down for everything that we do.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And obviously, we know that music industry, the film
TV,
industry, everything
film,
has been severely affected by the streaming services, by social media, by everything, right?
But just corporations being greedy and just being terrible towards artists, which is that's how it's always been. It's just that now it's much more prevalent because there's a camera in every person's device.
Yeah.
So now we see it everywhere.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I feel like overall that's affected everything when it comes down to the Oscars and how we see certain artists, how we see actors, how we see everything.
Yeah.
And not only that, but there is a big connection with the politics, with the negative.
Correct.
Right?
It's all about the negative. Correct.
So it's just, I don't know, man. Like, it's just so much negativity around it.
Have you seen the TikToks or the videos that are from like the Oscars in the 90s versus the Oscars now?
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
Like those compilations about the Oscars in the 90s are, you know, the stars going in, and you know how they were presented, and how like glamorous they looked, and how presentable they looked, and how everything was that high standard of quality.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, bro.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just also, again, is that social media thing, right?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm not against the social media. I'm just saying the information is being put out in the social media so in a way that it's impacting negatively so much. Like, yeah, back in the day, it's like you see the artists, like the actors arriving, and everybody's like, wow, you know, like they got so much prestige. Nowadays, it's like, ooh, they had like a fail in their wardrobe, like something like that. Something as simple as like, did you see that dress? It was ugly. And it's like, it takes away from the fact that all these crazy, like, great actors, right, are arriving. Actresses, actors, directors, everybody's arriving. And it's like the information, I mean, not the information, the focus passes into like something as simple or dumb as
the shoes or
what the fuck were they wearing?
Right.
And you're just like, what?
Correct. And those channels that are also like judging people's looks based on their specific style, but they call it out like, you know, this is garbage, this is trash, I wish I would have seen better from me. It's like, focus on the person.
Yeah.
Yes, it's important, it's very important. That's a whole industry behind fashion, but let's not just focus on the fashion.
Parentheses, right? I want to make a parenthesis here. So I don't know if you're familiar with Lewis Hamilton, right? The Formula One driver.
Yes.
Formula. Anyways, he has been doing something phenomenal for the industry of fashion, which is, for a very long time, every time he would go to a red carpet, wherever he was invited, he was wearing obviously some really big statement pieces, right, from some fashion designers. And sometimes, I believe a few times he did it, I'm not sure exactly how many times, but he brought some of those fashion designers with him to the red carpet just to be able to showcase them and show some of these phenomenal fashion designers and kind of bring him into the light. Because sure, there's a lot of individuals that are wearing like phenomenal suits and everything, right, dresses, but there is not a lot about the fashion designer. So he brought them in to the red carpet just so he can, you know, basically, it's a kind of saying like thank you for everything that he's wearing, everything that he has, everything that, for what they do behind the scenes. Because again, their names are everywhere, but you don't see them.
They're lost in the annals of history. Yeah.
So it's kind of like that love letter to the stuntman with the movie that Ryan Gosling did. Yeah.
Which one?
The
Stuntman.
Yeah, the Stuntman movie. Yeah. So it's kind of like that love letter to stuntman.
Yeah.
Right. That was kind of like that moment where it was like a love letter or like a thank you to fashion designers, and it's great. But it's not only that, it's fashion designers of minorities, like they're minorities, like
FUBU, like
not just that, but they're like black, they're women, stuff like that. So,
FUBU is a black fashion designer.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that.
He gets shouted out in Kendrick songs.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's important, right? And if you're doing it like that, I think that's great, right? Instead of us negatively from the phone watching and be like, whatever he's wearing, nasty. It's like, wow, man, that was awesome the way he did that. So, but I mean, that's going back to the way that the comparison between how it used to be, right, and how it is now, right?
Correct.
If we go directly into the comparison of the Oscars back in the day, I mean, it's changed so much.
Correct. 100%.
There's so much change.
It changes on the substance, the style, the quality of the whole thing, because I believe that I don't know, as time has gone by, the quality of the video is getting better, but the quality of the art or the presence of it has gone down.
Yeah.
Whether it's the musical talent or whether it's how they present themselves, like a lot of the quality stuff has definitely gone down the hill.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, it feels very forced. Yeah, like every time 100%. They're presenting something, it just feels so forced that I'm just like, I don't want to watch it. It makes me cringe so bad. I'm just cringing so bad because I'm like looking at it. I'm like, for example, that moment of the slap of Will Smith. Oh my God, dude. I was hoping for dear Lord that was like staged. I don't know.
Everybody did.
To this day, I'm still hoping it was, because it was so cringy.
Yeah.
And it just, you're watching the Oscars and they just made, it was like, making fun of it, right? The Oscars are supposed to be like the most prestigious, honor that these
filmmakers and everybody that works in the movies
can get. And then it's just the only thing they talk about for like that whole entire month.
Weeks.
Yeah. It was like, did you see the slap?
Did you see Chris Rock getting the shit slapped out of him? Yeah.
And then everybody just jumped on that train and talked about it for literally weeks. And to this day, you can still think about it. And it's like, oh, the Oscars are coming. Do you remember that slap?
Yeah.
Like, for
correct.
example, what I'm doing right now.
It's
Subtle foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It's like the slap.
The slap.
But you see, this is the things that are like that quality. Come on, man. Like, it's just so forced. And then to get to that point, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not either. What do you feel about, like, for example, like some of the movies that are being presented, like how the quality of it, has the quality of the movies themselves have changed
Yes.
from before? How?
100%. I feel like little by little, we're allowing a little bit more films that are international films to come in. And I think that has been the greatest thing they can do. And it will continue to be the greatest thing they can do.
Yeah.
Not just as the best international film, but as the main films, like the best motion pictures, the best actors,
features.
the best everybody, right? Like all the actors, everybody involved. I think that's the best thing that they could have done, and the best direction that they can take.
Correct.
Is allowing more of those. I feel like in the past it was just more like all the Western films, right?
Not even Westerns, or the American films.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
not even. Yeah. Just
American.
American.
Like for a long time, like European films weren't even showcased, except for, like, I believe the first time a European movie was either nominated or won Best Picture was what was this movie called? The one that the Italian guy that is like Buongiorno Principessa, that it was like in the World War II and they're in the concentration camps. Okay, you know which one I'm talking about? I will leave the name of the thing right here. Yeah, I'll leave the name of it. But I believe that was one of the first movies that actually, European movies that was actually nominated for an Oscar. Now, this is just a little bit of film history knowledge. Films were actually the original films, the original first actual movie that was made, that was considered a film, was by the Lumiere brothers in France. It's called Trip to the Moon. A lot of the actual roots of film are made in Europe and are made internationally. Now, I love the fact that we're getting more Asian movies and more Hispanic movies and more, because it was only either American and then it became just European and American. Now we have Asian, African, Brazilian, South American. I love that. Now, the thing that why I think that they weren't letting them do that in the past is because, I'm sorry, but a lot of American films cannot hold a candle to international films. Look at Parasite. Look at oh my God, what was the other? Crazy Rich Asians. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah. They have these tremendous stories that are now being showcased to American audiences that weren't done in the past. Why? Because Hollywood needs to protect itself. And if Hollywood is not making the movies to the par that are making international, then they're going to try to suppress them a little bit.
Right.
I don't think it's right, but I think that now American filmmakers need to step it up a little bit more and create movies that actually, like back in the 80s and 90s, that were huge international films, huge pieces of actual art, and not just, sell toys and sell songs and sell commercials and sell Happy Meals and stuff like that.
Yeah, but to point that something out there, pertaining some of the films, why they used to be so huge back in the day, is also because there were a lot of films that were being shot at different, like in Europe and Asia and everything like that, but all of the biggest budget films were always from here.
From America.
And I believe hence that's the reason why they were always the biggest ones. Not because they were good necessarily, right? Right, we can say they're great and everything like that. Yeah, but we didn't have a lot to compare because the biggest budget was always here.
Correct.
I'm correct. There's so many good films from overseas, and there had been so many great ideas overseas, but it's just they didn't have the budget, right? They never had that budget. It's like you see films here have budgets of like 250 million, 125, like it's just crazy budgets, and you're just like, all right, so they had the budget, so it better be good. And that's the whole point where you were saying now is like, with less of a budget overseas, we're seeing so many better films.
In the production industry here in the US, just for you guys to get a little bit more knowledge on it, there are different tiers to how, if it's an independent movie, if it's an actually like the budget of it determines a lot of it. So
Right.
under $1 million, that's considered indie or low budget. Sorry, low budget.
Under 100 million?
Under a million.
Oh, okay. I was about to
Under
say.
100 million, it's a medium budget. High budget or like, good budget movies are 100 million onward. So why? Because they have the resources to be able to do special effects and pay for tremendous actors and pay for locations and pay for catering. Like
Right.
that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't understand, is that a day in film could easily be $100,000 easy.
Correct.
On one day.
Correct.
That's why, there, so many experimental movies are like it was done in a day, or it was done in 2 days, or it was done in a week, because each day is a lot of money between food, transportation, people, logistics, rentals, equipment, like all of that. It's so expensive. So if anybody at home has ever said, like, why don't they just reshoot it? Do you have $100,000 just to dump it in for 1 day of shooting?
Yeah, and a reshooting could take more than 1 day.
And reshoots usually take a week.
Yeah. So that could be a lot of money.
Correct.
Yeah, it's just, and then if you compare, how does one film from like overseas compare to that? Like, right?
Yeah, no. Most of them will
crazy.
be in the medium budget. But what I think is that, like, for example, I think that the money that they have, because the scarcity of it breeds creativity.
Right.
Like, a lot of the movies that we see that have those budgets, excuse me. I know. Don't worry, we're gonna delete this shit. I'm sorry, I burped. I'm so sorry. I'm a human being. A lot of those movies, there are parts of it that you're like, did they really have that budget? Why does it look so cheap?
Right.
But it's because they're spending in dollars, A, and B is because since they have all the budget, they think they can just throw money at it.
Right.
All the movies that I've made have either been low budget or medium budget that I've been a part of. And the amount of resources that you have to, like, borrow from home, or, there was one time for one of the films that I did, it was a restaurant. We had to redress the whole restaurant. Most of the napkins were paper towels. They look really nice, but it's just because they weren't the first to look at.
Right.
And we had to, like, reuse a bunch of props from movie to movie to movie to movie because we don't have the budget for it.
Right.
But we have the creativity of actually pulling that shit together, and now it looks a lot better than when they pay for it.
Talking about the quality of the films, I mean, it's just, we've seen time and time again, the quality is being shown. There's so much talent.
Right.
So much talent. So, and trying to go back also to connect again to the question you asked about the films. I'm really happy that we're starting to see more of those international films being brought in to more categories, because
Correct.
There's so much talent. I mean, there's so many movies that I can sit down here and recommend to you, to whoever's watching, that are international, that you can tell they have a low budget. You can tell. But it's not about the budget. It's about the talent behind it, the acting, the writing, the way that it's filmed. And even if it's a low budget, the places and everything, how it's filmed, it's just like, wow.
Well, one of my favorite films of all time, and I highly recommend, if you or whoever is watching, watch the movie. It's an Argentinian movie called Nine Queens, or Nueve Reinas in Spanish. Please do yourself a favor and watch it. It is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, with Ricardo Darín, which is one of the best Argentinian actors to ever live. There are a lot of things that you could have had, 10 times the budget, it would have looked the same. Yeah, it's all about that how resourceful you are with the money that you have.
When it comes to those films, I mean, it doesn't, like you're saying, like, you don't have to have that big of a budget. And so it's awesome. But you see what I'm saying? Like, you mentioned that film that I'm sure almost 80% of the people haven't watched.
Have not. Yeah. 90% of the people have not seen.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of it. And I like watching foreign films. I'm a fan of foreign films. I love watching horror films that are foreign. If you have good suggestions, leave them down because I will watch them.
Have you seen Wreck?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I hate scary films.
Phenomenal.
I hate them with a passion. Fuck.
No, listen. I just and this is also I mean, just to get a little side note, and if you haven't watched, you made a recommendation. If you like, it's not horror. I wouldn't say it's horror, but it's called The Coffee Table.
Is it a thriller?
It's not necessarily one. It's called The Coffee Table. It's a Spanish film. That's the name in English, but it's La Mesita del Comedor. And it's a film from Spain, and it's filmed mostly in a house. It's you can tell it's low budget, right? Because it's only filmed in a house.
Yeah.
Well, not low budget. It might be like a medium budget. Anyways, but the film is about like a table, right? Well, that's the idea that makes you believe on that. But then there's so many things that happen because the purchase of a table. But the story is so good, and it's not necessarily horror. It is kind of categorized as horror, but it's just all the shit that happens when they buy the table and how everything
Is
unfolds.
it like the table's cursed?
No. It isn't. It's just a phenomenal delivery of what could go wrong. But it's not necessarily cursed. It's not horror to
There's
the
no
point.
like supernatural.
No.
Okay.
There's no jump scares. There's nothing. It's just something happens with the table, and everything goes to shit because of it. And it's phenomenal.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I got it recommended. I watched it, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's in Tubi, right? For free.
TUBI.
Yes, you can watch it.
Not
for free.
TOBE.
Yeah, TUBI. Yeah,
because to be or not to be. Anyways, sorry.
And you can watch it for free. And the film is about an hour and a half. And the whole entire hour and a half, I was so anxious. I was clenching my butt cheeks for an hour and a half.
You're like,
yeah. And so it kept me.
You waddled after. You're like, oh.
Yeah, it kept me going, right? And I even recommended it to my father. I'm like, you better watch this film.
You better.
And talk to me about it. And I also recommended it to my girlfriend, and she was like, I can't handle this. Like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I really need to know what's going to happen. And the whole time I was like, please watch. Keep watching.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, again, good recommendations. I'll watch whatever you said. But, it's just those type of films that are coming from different, studios from overseas that you don't expect them to be that good.
Correct.
Right? And again, going back, as I think we mentioned it in the first episode, we talked about Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix has been phenomenal of bringing so many of those films to that light.
Correct.
They've been amazing. They've been really good with the directors and artists from overseas, and it's
correct.
And it's been bringing them to light now, where everybody's
to the general mass public. Correct.
Actually, after the Squid Games, the subscribers for Netflix just got like skyrocketed, right? And I believe, and people are gonna hate Netflix for this, but I believe they're gonna up the prices again.
Oh, for sure.
Because they got more subscribers.
For sure.
And that happened because of Squid Games.
But let's not deviate from like the Oscars, because I really want to keep talking about that topic, because like who, like out of the nominees for like Best Picture, which ones do you agree that should be there? Which ones do you not agree that should be there? That you watched. So which ones have you watched and which ones do you agree?
So I watched Conclave, I watched Anora, I watched Wicked. Well, those are best motion pictures, right? I watched The Substance. So, I mean, film-wise is like the best picture. There is some beautiful cinematography, like the filmography itself. It's so beautiful in some of these films. I highly recommend all of them that I watched.
Making the
Wicked,
distinction.
Wicked was phenomenal. I think it was a great musical, right? It was it was very whimsical. The CGI was really, really well done. The music was great, and it just keeps you invested for the whole time. Then you have more films like a little bit darker themes, like the Conclave, right? But
or The Substance.
Ralph Fiennes is phenomenal in that film. Right. The Substance, it's a horror film, surprisingly, that is listed as one of the best motion pictures. And I don't recall the last time that a horror film was recognized that highly.
I mean, Jaws. Jaws is technically like a horror film.
Yeah. But then from Jaws to now, At least I
I
don't
mean,
recall.
it's just I don't know if it's horror or thriller because there is a difference. Or
I
suspense
think it's
or
categorized as horror. But
okay.
I don't personally feel like it was. It was more like it was more like a thriller, like a little bit of body horror.
Yeah.
But not to the point of like Saw or something like that.
Yeah, not
No.
to like the It franchise where it's
No,
like
and I wouldn't even say it is like
no, not It. Sorry, The Thing.
yeah, correct.
Or The Fly
where it's
or
like
something like that.
a lot of like visceral blood and stuff like that. No, it's a well done film. I think it's great. Demi Moore was phenomenal in the film.
Demi.
Demi.
Demi. Give it to me.
But I think it was, it's good. But some of the films that I watched, I think are really good and are worth being there. And then some that have stirred so much conversation that we're about to get into it.
Yeah. Emilia Perez.
Yeah.
Emilia Perez is not a good film, in my opinion. It shouldn't be as highly nominated. 13 nominations, bro. Like, that's more than some tremendous, like, I believe more than even The Godfather, because I believe The Godfather was only like 12 or 10 or something like that. Like, 13 nominations? Are you kidding me? I watched the first 15 minutes of the film. Beautiful cinematography.
Right.
But it pissed me off so much I turned it off. Because there's a lot of... Okay, and this is something that I was telling my family. These kind of movies are not made for Latinos. They're not. They're made for an American audience. So you have a French director that doesn't know Spanish. The script was hastily or poorly translated. Because even in the first 15 minutes, the only thing that I watched, there were some things that I'm like, that's poor syntax. Like the grammatics of it, that's not right. They have actors that don't fully speak Spanish. Yes, some of them, like Zoe Saldaña, have a better Spanish than others.
Selena Gomez, I'm looking at you.
The stuff that I've seen from Selena Gomez, I think her acting outdoes her poor Spanish.
Her acting wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Right? It's just
jarring to the ear.
It's
like
just
it completely
difficult.
it completely took me out of it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that try to sing that like they cannot hold a tone, they cannot sing properly. I don't like musicals at all because a lot of musicals have purposeless songs. I was listening to it's a dubbing coach from Mexico. His name is Beto Castillo. He's one of the greatest voices in Spanish dubs. And he said once in an interview that for musicals, he directs a lot of musicals to be dubbed in Spanish. And he said that if musicals, like if the songs don't have a purpose in the movie,
in the story,
they shouldn't be there. And the song should be the only way that they could depict that emotion. It shouldn't be just being able to be spoken.
Right.
So, like for example, there's a lot of Disney movies that have great songs. And but you can see that their thoughts cannot just be said.
Yeah.
They have to be sung. They have to be performed. They have to be. So that's why there's a lot of musicals that I'm like for example, the Joker 2. I did not need any of the songs.
No, it could have been a film that was purely
a film. But so
like the first one.
Correct. So I think musicals in and of itself, I'm gonna be biased against musicals. I'm sorry if you like musicals. Power to you if you like musicals. I know a lot of people that I did theater with that only loved musicals, and it's like, dude, I'm sorry, but I don't like that. But to have a movie that has such a difficult subject topic, which is being transgender, and somebody that was like within the first 15 minutes of the film, I'm gonna spoil a little bit, so I'm so sorry if you haven't seen it. Actually, no, it's better if you haven't seen it. Sorry.
Don't watch it.
But, you have one of the biggest gangsters trying to transition into a woman. And when, at that point, I was like, okay, that's a cool, that's very interesting.
It is an interesting topic.
Because we've had like things in the past where a gangster is gay, and that was revolutionary at the time. Mm-hmm. So now what about transgender? I'm fine with it. That's perfectly fucking cool. But to have people being like, I'm going to change my sex, and I'm this, because it's like...
It's not just that. It's the fact that throughout the film, all the fact that he is a criminal because he changed his gender and tries to become a good person now, we suddenly forget that he was a really bad person.
Correct.
And that's like the film tries to make you forget that you are cheering for a transition, which is totally fine. I'm okay also with the transition.
100%.
It's just we can't be cheering on for a person that doesn't justify like or eliminate the fact that he was a bad person.
Correct.
But the film tries to do that to the point where you're just like,
it's insulting your intelligence.
yeah, you try to forget. They try to make you forget that this is a really bad individual, and then suddenly because they transition into a woman, we forget that just possibly killed a lot of people and stuff like that. Like
and drugs.
Like I said,
yeah.
I'm not necessarily fond of it, and I have not watched it, but I've seen so many things about it. I have read so many things about it. I watched a little bit of it, but it was not calling my attention. And that specific fact, and so many other facts, like the way it was filmed, the people that were casted, I'm just like, I don't necessarily see it as a film that I think is worth that many nominations
at all. Now
go to Wicked. Just look at Wicked.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't like musicals, and if whoever's watched the musical and whoever's watched Wicked, I know there's been so many renditions of Wicked, right? Even as a
theater, a play
in the theater, you can all tell me Wicked is phenomenal, right? Because they did a great job with Wicked, phenomenal job, and obviously it has the upper hand there because it comes from theater, right? It's been done in many, many, many ways, but the way that they did it in film was phenomenal. Right, like again, the CGI, everything is just really good. Right, I think it's worth the watch.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, something I was gonna bring up for the movie Emilia Perez. It's that like South Park did something like that, like on 2016 or 17
with a teacher.
No. It was when they made fun of Caitlyn Jenner when she transitioned, and then she hit somebody, like she killed somebody with her car. And it's like it's one episode. I don't remember which one it is, but it's like Caitlyn Jenner driving and just hitting people and being like, "It's okay, I'm transition. It's okay, I'm a new woman." And,
oh my god!
Yeah, South Park gets away with everything, and I love it. So, but I think that's kind of like what you're saying. It's bringing me to that, and it's not okay. Now, from what I saw, the cinematography was on point. It was beautiful. There were a lot of things like there's a couple of one shots that is just Zoe Saldana walking and doing things, and they transition and they change the background, and it's phenomenally staged, right. And it's phenomenally shot. It's an visual and an audio and visual media. If the audio is really not sinking into me, the shots could be fucking phenomenal. But if the what they're saying or how they're saying it, or if they're singing doesn't bode well, immediately it breaks the immersion. I'm like, I'm out of it. It pissed me off. I'm like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, no, it's what we discussed last time too about the bad CGI, right? A bad CGI takes your immersion off.
Correct.
And you're immediately like, like you lost me, right? Yeah. And it's similar with a musical. What you're saying is absolutely true. The musical, the songs, they don't necessarily connect for you. It's more like you lost me already.
Yeah.
And I feel like Emilia Perez could do that
easily,
very easily. But it's also just so many things that are happening behind it. Like I said, it's just the representation, the culture, everything. It's just for me, it wasn't there.
Don't get me wrong. I'm okay with representation in many of its ways. What I'm against is forced representation. The thing that I bring out the most, where I think it's good representation, it's my favorite video game of all time, The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
The character of Ellie is a woman, is a girl. She's lesbian, and there's black characters, there's whatever, but that's not their whole personality. Like, they're not just the gay character or the black character or the whatever character. And throughout the game, you don't even know that she's gay or lesbian. It's actually on a DLC that you find that out. Yes, you can take some of the comments like, oh, that's why she has said this in the past. Mm-hmm. But it's not just from the beginning, hi, I'm lesbian. Oh, I'm also Ellie, And it's not just like, oh, I don't like this because I'm a girl. Mm-hmm. I don't like this because I'm lesbian. And the black characters, they're not just like, what's up, dog? How you doing? No, they're just regular people. And that to me, it's inclusion done in a good way, in a serviceable way, because they're fully fledged characters. They're fully realized characters, and the writing is so on point that you don't care.
Right.
Every character could be in a different way or built. One of the most, and even in the show, out of the 5 episodes that I watched,
if you haven't watched it, Last of Us is an HBO.
Yeah,
it is really well
the
done.
episode with Bill, it was one of the most gorgeously written and made love stories in a single episode that I've ever seen, and I cried like a fucking baby.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous, and it was beautifully made, but it wasn't, we have to tell a story because he's gay, or we don't have to tell the story because of representation, that they did it in that way. So representation is perfectly fine if done serviceably to the actual property.
Correct. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I feel like I'm sure they got a lot of things right. I am sure 100%. I don't disagree. Right? People like it. People have watched it. It is on Netflix, I believe, so you can watch it there too. Don't. But it is there if you want to watch it. But if you can watch any of the other films, like I said, let me, for example, talk a little bit about Anora, right? Anora is a film about she is a stripper. Wow, I couldn't find the word. I didn't want to say prostitute because she's not. She's a stripper. Yeah. And
a lady of the night.
She falls in love with a young Russian guy, right? And the whole story is about how he falls in love with her, but not necessarily. And she might have fallen in love with his money rather than the person. But then the whole story carries on as that marriage shouldn't have happened. Like, they get married and that shouldn't have happened. And the whole story unfolds on everything that is occurring to unmake that marriage. And it goes really crazy. But I wouldn't say that the film itself, or like the cinematography on it, it's like stunning. Like, you'll be like, wow. It's just a really good story. It's just a fun story to watch. You're just like, wow. Like, every time you're watching it, you can't help to like smile a little bit. And it's like, wow, this is so stupid, but this is great.
So basically, the whole movie is a T-Pain song.
Kind
of.
In
love with a stripper. Yeah.
But it's funny. It's like a really fun watch, right? That has nothing to be like, I wouldn't say personally that is like groundbreaking, that I'm like, wow, like the way that they shot something was like amazing. Like, when we look at Oppenheimer, right? Oh yeah. The way that they did the explosion. We know he goes out. The whole movie is beautiful. Out. Right. But that shot was done
out of this world.
Was done, I mean, as practical as you can call it, right? Even the explosion, everything, he wanted to do it as practical. And I understand the budget is massive. But that was like a shot that you're just like, to this day, you can talk about it and be like, wow, that shot was phenomenal. Yeah. Right? There's films that have that. I wouldn't say Anora has that. Conclave definitely has really, really beautiful shots. It's a slower film, right? But the actors, it has so many great actors in it that they carry the movie so well. And the story is really genuinely interesting. So I would say for the nominees for this year, there are so many good ones. And we haven't talked about The Brutalist, that I unfortunately haven't watched it.
I haven't either.
But everything that I've read, everything that I've seen so far of it, it's so beautifully shot because it's based on an architect that comes from Europe to here and, well, gets found by somebody, an investor, and he wants to make him, use his talents.
Correct.
And so it's a film that showcases a lot of that. First of all, immigration, right? Which is a minority. Right. And second, the beautiful art within art, right? Because it's showcasing the
architecture.
Art, right? Architecture. Yeah. It's beautiful architecture, some beautiful shots, and then phenomenal actors, right? We got Guy Pearce, we got Adrian Brody. So, I mean,
and Felicity Jones.
Yes, Felicity Jones too. Sorry. So they got some really good ones. I don't know, man. I just feel like watching all of these, it makes it genuinely hard for me to say one is gonna win. But if Emilia Perez is gonna win,
oh god,
I will go to Hollywood.
Start slapping motherfuckers in the face.
I just can't. I can't see it winning. I understand it, but I can't see it winning. I would much rather. I don't know, man. I much rather have The Substance win it, to be honest. And The Substance, I wouldn't say is like best motion picture. I wouldn't say it, it is a fun film to watch. If you haven't seen it, it's great. But
like right before we started filming, we were talking about how I think that Demi Moore is gonna win Best Actress because it's kind of like a legacy one. It's not gonna be like a lifetime Oscar like how they did with Jackie Chan, but I think that she has been in so many really good movies like G.I. Jane, like Labyrinth, and Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
But those are not Oscar worthy. Maybe G.I. Jane. But I think she has had so much work throughout life. And I mean, she's been Esmeralda from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is my favorite Disney movie of all time. So I think this is kind of like, okay, let's give her the time of day, kind of like Laura Dern in Marriage Story. I don't think Laura Dern should have won because her character is serviceable, but I don't think she was at that level of Oscar.
Yeah.
I think the whole movie in and of itself is Oscar worthy, but I don't think her specifically winning an Oscar should have gotten. But I think it's also that thing of, she's been in the industry since the 80s and since the 90s. So let's just give her one. And don't get me wrong, this is not to detract from their talent. They're extremely talented actresses. But I think that Demi Moore and Laura Dern are going to get the same treatment.
I just feel like there is something very important here. There is something key here. Mm-hmm. Emilia Perez has 14 nominations?
13.
Okay. We want to talk about inclusivity. Carla Sofia Gascon is the leading actress for Emilia Perez. She is transgender, formerly known as Carlos. Mm-hmm. And I don't know to what degree this could be an impact to the decision, right? Because I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But we are also in an era where we're being as inclusive as we can be with everything that we do.
Correct.
Right? In terms of movies, in terms of music, everything has been very inclusive. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like there is, to a degree, a point where I don't want to say it like this, and I hope this is not the way, but they snub somebody like Demi Moore. Demi Moore. Because... Oh, you made me laugh, bro.
I've been trying to hold on my laugh for so fucking long. Sorry. It's just that Daniel has a cat that has been meowing from the very beginning. We're gonna put actually a counter, but it's just but the cat is just right off camera and just looking at us like, can you play with me, motherfuckers?
Oh, bro, I was trying not to laugh, but you made me laugh.
I'm sorry.
What I was saying is, I hope she doesn't get snubbed and they give more favoritism, because it's already, the movie on its own, it's already getting so much praise. Like it's huge the way that it's getting praised by everybody. And I don't know, I just wouldn't want to see somebody else getting snubbed because of that. Yeah. And not to say that she's not a bad she's a bad actress. I don't want to say that, right? I just don't feel like it's necessary. Her performance was an Oscar-worthy performance.
Yeah. Right. Now, there is a conversation that I wanted to have about how, representation could work in the long run.
Correct.
Because a series like there has been this a movement, like not movement, but like this kind of like way of doing things now, that representation has been steadily and slowly going into like TV or media correct. Or anything like that. And the biggest one, like the biggest... from the early days of TV was Mary Tyler Moore with a Mary Tyler Moore show. Mm-hmm. She was the first woman to ever have her own show and the first woman to ever have a regular sitcom on broadcast TV. Same thing with Lucille Ball with I Love Lucy, where it was a woman and an immigrant guy because he was Cuban.
Right.
So same thing with Will and Grace. Will and Grace was the first show that had an openly gay couple throughout the whole thing, and it actually made people more receptive towards gay people because they saw that they weren't just this super flamboyant, this super hi. No, they were just regular people too, and they were living regular lives. One of them was a lawyer, I believe.
Right.
And same thing with Modern Family, where Modern Family,
great,
yeah,
I love Modern Family.
Modern Family is awesome, where they have like different people, and they have Hispanic people, and Sofia Vergara steals a lot of the show. And now people are more receptive to, oh, we can have Latinos speak Spanish and be immigrants in our shows.
And that's okay.
And that's perfectly fine because
Yeah.
they're just people. They're not, they don't have to be an allegory towards anything else. They can just be people.
I agree 100% with that. I just don't feel like we should glorify it to the point that I feel like it is being right now.
Correct. 100%. 100%.
Because I feel like it's being, like I said, I am okay with it and I understand it 100%, but I don't feel like it should be glorified to this degree where it's like being like one of the best musicals. And I'm like, I mean, it could be good. Don't get me wrong. If you like it, great. But I just don't feel like what you're saying is fantastic, but I don't feel like this film should be glorified as it is. And if moving forward is going to open the door for many others, maybe this 100%. Is the door for it.
Yeah.
And if winning everything is the door for it, I'm okay with it. As long as it is that door that needed to be opened for so much more inclusivity.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I just don't feel like
this specific movie.
Yeah, and it should be brought up as much. But because we've seen some really good films, right? As of the more recent years, we've seen more and more inclusion in films, right? We've seen more films about like a gay boy coming out, like I Love Simon, right? Coming out, and he's trying to find his
Moonlight.
Yeah, Moonlight as well, and it's a gay boy, right? That grows and has to be this rough man. Right, and actually, Mahershala Ali won a supporting actor for that one, which is it's a great
fantastic
film. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
Cinematography, everything is beautiful in that. But you know, that one portrays also a black man who is also gay, and is trying to understand himself,
and himself and the world around him.
Correct.
Too. Yeah.
Because he grows up surrounded in an area where he's not supposed to.
He's not allowed to be gay. Yeah.
So. You know, it's phenomenal to that degree because you have that and it's very subtle, but it opens the doors for so much. And it's been happening already. I just don't feel like this film particularly should be
celebrated as such.
Correct. I understand, again, an opening to the transgender because it's basically saying it's okay, right, to transition, and that's absolutely fine, but not to the point where it's like, let's forget everything you did wrong.
Yeah,
right.
And now you're just this whole absolutely new person that was clean slate. No,
you certainly feel right. Maybe you feel like that's when you transition. That's how you feel.
Yeah,
but it shouldn't be glorified as it is, as in the movie it makes it.
You can feel like you're becoming a new person.
Correct.
That doesn't mean that everything that you did before that gets erased.
Correct. It's like I changed my sex today, and then I become Daniela, right? And then we all forget that I ever existed as Daniel. Like everything I did, suddenly is
like look at Elliot Page.
Yeah,
like when Elliot was Ellen, all the movies that she made, all the work that she did, it doesn't get erased because she went from Ellen to Elliot.
Correct.
And I think Elliot Page also has done some great work, but just because he transitioned or they transitioned, that doesn't mean that everything else gets erased.
Correct.
To your point.
Correct. But going a little bit back, there's two actors I want to talk about. Let's talk about the male in the leading role because there's a race with one of the two heaviest actors right now, like the really heavy resumes.
Right.
I mean, not to say that the rest of the actors, because they also have Sebastian Stan.
It's Sebastian Stan. It's Ray Fiennes, Adrian Brody.
Can't remember the name of this gentleman. He's in Sing Sing.
Yes. I can't remember what his name is.
Which is also a beautiful film. We're watching the trailer, and it looked like a phenomenal film, like so beautifully shot, right? Actually, the motion picture. Also, one of the motion pictures that we were discussing was the Nickel Boys. It looks so experimental in the shots.
Yeah. They have a lot of they have POV shots. They have what's called a snorri cam. Snorri cam is the one that they kind of strap like a harness on you, and is the one that when in movies when you see the guy drunk and he has that weird angle, that's called a snorri cam. But a snorri cam from the back, that's experimental. Like it's not a usually made shot, and I love it. I love the fact that they're doing that.
So if you haven't watched those, please watch them. We will watch them,
Yeah.
and we can discuss down in the comments. But definitely,
peacefully so and respectfully so.
But definitely, I mean, I feel like Adrian Brody brings a lot to the table. He already has one Oscar.
Yeah.
And
From The Pianist.
I feel like he could win another one. Even though I feel like Ray Fiennes was doing a phenomenal job in The Conclave, he is in some tough competition.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Sebastian Stan with what's the name of that
Trump
movie?
biopic or whatever? Yeah, whatever it is.
I don't think that film particularly is going to win much unless politics have something to do with it.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Awkward pause.
But I think Edward Norton is in it too, and he's
Edward Norton for which movie?
Yeah, for the Trump one, and I think he is a supporting character, if I'm not mistaken. Which is crazy because that film I don't even The Apprentice, that's what it's called.
The Apprentice.
I have not seen anything of it. I haven't even seen the trailer.
I saw the only thing that I saw was a picture of Sebastian Stan as Trump, and that's it.
I haven't seen it. But I feel like if I was to pick one of the two movies that are going to be leading, like in Adrian Brody, phenomenal, and Ray Fiennes, it's going to come down to those two actors.
And I sincerely hope Ray Fiennes gets it. Honestly.
I would hope so.
Honestly, because he is a tremendous fucking actor with, The Menu and with the Harry Potter series and going all the way back to the 90s with Schindler's List, bro. The fact that he didn't win an Oscar for being a fucking despicable piece of shit of a human fucking being in that character, I hate it.
Liam Neeson, dude.
Liam Neeson, like, he's
both
also
were phenomenal.
He's an actor that I'm like, why don't you do more movies like this? That's the best character that I've ever seen Liam Neeson do. And it breaks my heart that he's just now from Taken.
He just went from delivering Oscar performances to delivering
Razzie performances.
Like straight up shoot them all up, and that's it. And it's like,
don't get me wrong, the first Taken was awesome.
Well, because it was the first one.
Yeah.
You didn't expect it. It was like Taken is like, wow.
Yeah, but Taken 3 when they're fucking throwing grenades out of the building to see how far they are is like, really?
Hear me out. He was the opening for John Wick.
No.
Hear me out though.
No. When was Taken? Because John Wick is 2014.
The first Taken was a very long time ago.
Right.
But I think it was like 2012.
But there's so many movies that are way before that I think have paved the way.
The fact that
like the Transporter series.
Yeah. I mean, it's a combination of all of them. I think Transporter is actually older than Taken.
Yeah, that's like 2006.
But I just don't know. I feel like after Taken, the interest again came to those action movies.
Actually, you know what I think was much influential than Taken?
Which one?
24, the series.
Okay, but I feel like in terms of film, I feel like it shifted a little bit again because everybody watched Taken. Yeah. Everybody was so hooked into that line.
And then it became a bunch of
like, I will find you.
Right.
I will find you.
Yeah, but it was a bunch. Then the thing that I didn't like about that is because after that, a bunch of 50-year-olds are suddenly badasses again.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like it brought it a little bit again.
Yeah.
Because sure, we had the Transporter, we had different films, right, already. But for example, Mr. Nobody, right,
That's the one with Bob Odenkirk.
Who?
Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah. Phenomenal, actually. It's a really fun movie to watch. But again, I feel like it brought a little bit of that to the older
and even the Equalizer
playing them. Yeah, the Equalizer, phenomenal. But you see what I'm saying? I feel like taking kind of
it brought it back. It brought it back.
Because then you have Denzel Washington doing the Equalizer, which is a really fun movie.
All of them,
right?
Yeah, all of them. Great.
But it's like, wow, this man is like on his 60s, and then he drops a banger of a movie about action, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So, anyways, it went back. So I do hope that Ray finds wins it. At least for me, in my personal opinion, I feel like he deserves one. Mm-hmm. I don't think he deserves one for the fact that he's been a very long time in Hollywood.
Oh no!
I feel like his performances are great, and I feel like the performance there of all the actors in Conclave were really, really well done.
And you have powerhouses. You have
Yeah.
John Lithgow.
Yes.
You have
Stephen Tucci.
Who?
Stephen Tucci?
It's not Stephen Tucci. Stanley Tucci.
Stanley.
Stephen Tucci.
Wow.
Stanley's like long lost cousin. He's like, "What's up, guys?"
Steven.
What's up, Steven? Stanley Tucci.
You guys are gonna see me butcher so many names. If you can pronounce all the names correctly, like Ray Fiennes, because he was telling me I was like Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes.
And he's like, no man, it's
Ray Fiennes.
And I was like, oh yeah, I've been butchering their names.
Yeah, like Saoirse Ronan. Seeing it written, it's like Saoirse. It's like, no, it's Saoirse. Yeah.
Saoirse Ronan. Saoirse. Like sauce.
Sweet and sour. Sweet and sour Ronan.
Yeah, so many. So you guys are gonna see me butcher so many names.
Okay, like I have a question for you. What? Because I've always wanted to see new categories be brought into the Oscars. What categories would you say like this would be great for them to bring into the Oscars?
One very small but big category, which we kind of maybe touch a little bit of it, stuntmen.
Yes.
The stuff that is in the back end.
100%. Fuck yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a little too excited. It's just that I know some coordinators and some people, but dude, stunts have been since the earliest movies, like Buster Keaton, like oh my god, what's his other name? The other guy, not Buster Keaton, but the British one, Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
Stunts have been in the industry since the very beginning, and they haven't gotten the recognition. 100%, I think stunt coordination and stunt performance.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
The best. Yeah, the category could be like the best stunts. Because in general, there's some films, and I feel like here, one of the actors right now that has been leading on this area is Tom Cruise.
100%.
With Mission Impossible. And I'm sure all the stunt coordinators and stuntmen on his films
are
alone
the best of the best,
could win so much.
Yeah, even actors like Scott Adkins or Michael Jai White, or if they had stunts from many years ago, Jackie Chan would have been like back to back.
Jackie Chan.
Jet Li, all of these guys, oh my god, the guy that taught Jackie Chan, what's his fucking, okay, whatever, because there were two. It was Jackie Chan, and it was a fat guy. I completely forgot their name. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna put it right here, and it's gonna kill me afterwards. So anyways,
what about you? What category?
Best voice acting.
I feel like
because
but would that be on like animated films, or what type of voice acting?
Yeah, animated films,
or just in general?
No, like, I mean, voice acting wouldn't. I mean, because voice acting also, it's like, you're on a phone call, you're like, what's that guy? I don't think that should get nominated, but like performances that have been stand throughout time, like Vin Diesel in The Iron Giant, or Woody and Buzz in Toy Story, or, there's so many acting performances that are being lost from the recognition that they should be just because they're not on camera. And I've talked to many people about this, and I have family members that feel strongly about this. I feel that voice acting, in a lot of ways, it hits more than on-camera acting. Why? Because the expressions could be much more subtle.
100%.
And I say this as a voice actor, and yes, I'm biased with this. I'm sorry if you don't like voice acting, especially for dubs. I do dubbing for in Spanish and in English. But even like, how many times have we seen in an anime, like Akira or Spirited Away, the voice acting shreds, it completely kills you, but they don't get the recognition that they're worth.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, and it doesn't necessarily because you're an actor, right? Voice actor should be biased. I don't think so. I think it's genuinely something that should have a category, because there's so many films that people are like, oh yeah, the film caused so many emotions. Well, yeah, the delivery. Yeah. Also, behind the lines also cause the emotion. Yeah. It's not just the way that a film looks. It's the way that it
makes you feel.
Right. The way that the voice actors, or like the actors, were just going at it.
And the back. The fact that, like, I have an uncle that doesn't like this take that I'm going to say. But just because somebody else animated it doesn't mean the performance is weaker. How many of you guys have seen Toy Story and have seen a part of Toy Story that I'm not gonna say, because if you haven't seen all the movies, it's a spoiler. But how many times have you not seen something being delivered in Toy Story that you're like, shit, fuck, I'm crying over a fucking toy.
Yeah.
I'm crying because a toy doesn't believe he's a toy.
Yeah.
Or they're being separated from their owner.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. The animation is one thing, but if you're just watching the animation with nothing, you can, sure, you feel some type of way, but when there is lines and they're delivered powerfully,
correct,
100%, you're like, wow.
And to it also empowers voice actors that haven't gotten their time of day, that have done years and years and years and years to, like, I don't like when movies get star talent. Star talent is like somebody like Jack Black, correct. All of them. I think that it could work because they bring people in,
right.
But I think that, these legacy voice actors like Nolan North, like Troy Baker, like Laura Bailey, like all of these fantastic voice actors that have been doing it for years and years and years, they need to have their recognition too.
Absolutely.
Like in Japan, in the US, in Latin America, in whatever, in the original language that it was made.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if the voice actors from Spirited Away, from Akira, would have gotten the recognition that they would have?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with that category 100%. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that there's many more categories that we can possibly think. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's 24 categories right now in the Oscars. But what is 2 more categories? Come on.
Please.
That are so many contributors, right? And in this industry, they're huge contributors in this industry, from the voice actors and stuntmen. They're huge contributors in the industry as a whole. They definitely deserve a category, 100%. And I mean, if there was going to be any revamps on the Oscars, which we probably doubt there will be, for me, at least personally, I would love to see a little bit of a revamp onto making it again something that is not, it's something that is as prestigious as it used to be. Like, try to bring it back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, revamp the whole thing and keep politics out of it and really focus on the craft.
The love of film.
Yes. The love of the art.
Yeah.
Right? For the whole entire thing. Just the love of art in general.
Yeah.
And just keep everything else out of it.
That's why, like, so a movie like La La Land that does portray and show the love of film and a love of music and a love of musicals. I love that that movie was made because it really showed the beauty of Hollywood and art. And yes, it's very like, of course we're gonna, nominate it for the best movie because it makes us look good. So hey, how about you, as the Academy, as the organizers of the show, bring the prestige back to it. Because a lot of people aspire to be actors. And a lot of people aspire to be like the actors that they see. And yes, we have to have a separation between the art and the artist.
Right.
100%. But if we show, again, that these people are extremely talented people and they should get the recognition that they're getting, let's do it all the way. And I agree 100% with you.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, with that being said, I feel like we need to be looking out for the Oscars for this year.
Yes.
We need to be paying attention to who's going to win.
Yes.
I hope the Academy makes the right decisions and they vote for the best performances, as it should be.
Yeah.
And let's keep on hoping that we see more of these categories that we've talked. And if you think of any other category, feel free to comment down below. Let us know. Let's continue the conversation down in the comments.
And if you think that we're wrong, please, we're just 2 people. 100% we could be wrong. If you think that we're wrong about Emilia Perez or about anything that we've been talking about, please let us know respectfully on the comments down below why.
But
and
we're not wrong.
Don't just say, oh yeah, it's because you're fucking assholes or whatever. Give us good arguments. Something that we could be like, you know what? That's a really good perspective on it.
But we're not wrong about Emilia Perez. Thank you.
No, we're not, because fuck that movie.
Can't change my mind. Even if you tried.
Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Where can they find you on socials?
So stay tuned for the next episode. You can find me on Instagram as Dan Valder. And that's about it.
Okay, yeah. I'm in most places as Juan Fe Sierra or Juan Fe Sierra Cortez. Thank you guys so much for being here with us, and goodbye. We'll see you later.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe and like, and leave us comments down below.
I'm so sorry. I completely forgot about that.
Thank you.